Yo, what's up? DJL7 here, and today I'm gonna call out Kshama Sawant. Now, the thing is that I've seen, and I'm gonna post some pictures up of my Substack, email open verifications, and you'll see that Kshama Sawant regularly opens up my newsletter. She knows I'm having this anti-communist event. I know she's actually declares herself a communist leader, and I'm not gonna say that communists all bad or all good, but the thing is that you can see repeatedly what communists do is, instead of actually opening up a dialogue, what happens is they read my stuff, they see what I'm doing, then they try to duplicate it, right? And with their own little set of people that are safe, who's gonna keep the message on point and not ask any complicated or hard questions. Let's talk about actually, I saw recently there's an event coming up with WNYC. They're doing some event with Astoria's Tenant Union, and I have the emails that I sent to Astoria Tenants Union asking them to. We have a Republican Housing Summit coming up to talk about the issues. Instead of having a conversation, they're just organizing their own separate thing. And really, what the result of this has been. And let's go back to Kshama Sawant for a second. Now, the thing is that they say they're for the workers, right? Well, the thing is that when you look at the People's Party, I was the New York State coordinator, okay? But if you take a look at who Kshama Sawant gave interviews to, it wasn't the workers. It wasn't the people who was on the ground doing the grassroots work. No. She talked to this guy called Socialist MMA, and I actually have the first interview with Socialist MMA in YouTube history. They don't like talking about that either, so they just don't have me on their show. I'm open to a conversation. These people don't want to have a conversation. They want, and the reason why is also because, I ask awkward questions like this right here, and also their plans, which, a lot of them were developed in theory land, have a hard time standing up to real examples. And I'm not talking about socialism never worked, right? Examples within their own organization or questions about how they plan to overcome someone with actual work on the ground who understands what the issues are, or can cite historical references and ask them how they'll actually fix those problems. That's why they need people who don't actually do the work on the ground, people that are not actually grassroots organizers. Look at what happened with Justice Democrats, by the way, right? A lot of people like to watch Kyle Kulinski. He got kicked out of Justice Democrats, or he left Justice Democrats when Cenk Uygur got kicked out. And I understand being loyal to the people that started it, but the grassroots and the celebrities, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And are any of the YouTubers out there having real conversations about what's going on between the grassroots, like what happened to Justice Democrats and Cenk Uygur, right? They'll give a quick 2-minute explanation. I'm sure the problems are deeper than that. And talking about why I think 7 separate generations of People's Party in New York State went through, tried to start the paperwork, and they were all flushed out like a multi-level marketing scheme. And celebrities were used repeatedly to manufacture support for this. They obviously knew what they were doing, because they would flush out one group of people and they'd bring in the next batch. So there's no way that the national leadership didn't know what they were doing and what they were up to. And a lot of these celebrities over here just, they don't get involved in the day-to-day. They're busy being a celebrity. They've been doing whatever it is that made them famous, which isn't actually doing on-the-ground work organizing. So Kshama Sawant, I'm posting up a picture. I'm posting the link below. The, link to the pictures that I have of you reading my emails and not having conversation. I also have an upcoming event on Sunday called the Black Ribbon event, where we're actually commemorating the lives lost due to authoritarian regimes, which includes communism, which killed over 100 million people, more than Nazism and fascism combined. I'm quite nervous about the participation of Zionists at the event. They asked to be a part of it, and Jews were also victims of, but they're also engaged in very troubling activities, and the United States is involved in 3 separate wars in Lebanon, in Gaza, and also in Iran on behalf of the Israeli state, that is straight up disrespecting our elected President Trump by rejecting his peace board and continuing to, Trump had the pieces to a potential peace deal settled out. He told Israel to stop bombing Lebanon, and then Lebanon went and did it. Israel went and did it anyways. So it's just, we need to have a conversation about what's going on here. So, I'm not going to disrespect the dead on that day of remembrance. Also, I think that the Zionist participation in this particular event, there's only one person. But I think that also might be also interfering with the, remember that we're going after CCP tampering with our government. And we look at, what's the name? The Uyghurs and also the Tibetans. They're not actually participating in this event. Now, just to be real with you, I saw recently a post by Nota Tool saying that the withdrawal of the in Korea, the Trump canceling the military exercises is a trap. And I'm going to ask you guys for real, and this is just on the side of, just Jews in general, not necessarily because the Zionists and anti-Zionists have a mixed, there's Jews of both kind, right? But can Israel trust the United States? Do they really trust us? Look up something called Operation Paperclip. Yeah? While the, on paper, the policymakers, I'm a policy wonk. Who cares about your policy, right? The intelligence community, what they did was, supposedly they weren't supposed to allow, war criminals to be protected by Operation Paperclip. That's exactly what happened. You could look it up for yourself. And so if Israel's actually people are concerned about China maybe trying to get revenge on us for fentanyl, for the opium wars that went on in their country. Is Israel trying to tank the United States as revenge for Operation Paperclip? Anything's possible, right? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But being Korean American, I can tell you that a lot of times the U.S. military empowered, Koreans that were oppressing other Koreans on behalf of the Japanese because it was convenient for what they needed right then. Look, I know there's a lot of, I was born in this country. I wouldn't make it in North Korea, I'm pretty sure, and I definitely would. I'm more aware of what's going on in South Korea. That culture is not something that I could really adapt to. So I supported Yoon Seo-chung when she was, when Trump was trying to deport her, but nobody wanted to listen to me, right? Including people that know the tool. So it's really tragic, but honestly, I'm scared for my life out here. The participation of the Zionists, the Mossad's known for killing people straight up and down. And there's supposedly a mistranslation where it says through deceit we can win war, and Wikipedia says, if you could trust it, says that it's supposed to be another way where it says without the consultation of many, there's you can't build a strategy, or without strategy you can't win a war. But if we take a look at the actions of Mossad, they're answer to the prime minister, not to the Knesset, where the there's some kind of I don't know if I said that word right, but there's some kind of a body, an assembly body. When they don't answer to them, they have their own kind of CIA deep state operation going. So they're directly contradicting their own motto, and they brag about assassinations, and the Epstein thing was not good. Unfortunately, also U.S. forces seem to be involved with that as well. So we could blame Israel for that, but it looks like U.S. was definitely complicit. So I have an email going out to the I already contacted the House Oversight Committee, and I was told on the phone on another day that they would get back to me. They never got back to me. I left messages for Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie. I emailed his people. Today I called again, and I documented it. I have the video. I'm going to upload that at some point real soon. And they gave me, this time, the House Oversight Committee person on the phone gave me an email address. So I'm emailing that information, but you know how the FBI is. They'll sit on a case for decades. They'll know about P. Diddy, and they have other priorities. So they'll let a lot of people die. They'll let a lot of wrong things go on. They'll let a lot of children be victimized. The level of deception in this game is, I've been in this for a while, so it's so disgusting and disturbing what's going on. I'm saying that in my last newsletter at djl7.com, you can see that I talked about Dropsite News and Ryan Grimm, how he's been running cover for weird things going on in the Yang Gang, weird things going on at the People's Party, and how they restructure the narrative to be a sex or race story versus, really following upon the theft of the money that went on. Nick Brana ended up getting a job with RFK for his ballot access director after his debacle at the People's Party. And RFK started messing with Scott Ritter, a two-time convicted pedophile. Remember, Jeff Epstein was only convicted once. One more thing I want to get out there is, despite my long history of, you can go to my channel and see how I busted up Andrew Yang and backed up the Arabic Americans who were actually, there was some type of Zionist influence that was really affecting the Asian Americans here in New York State. It's really sad, and it's something that I've been resisting for a long time. But the Arab Americans have not had my back, and this has all been documented as well. I've made several visits to the Arab American Society. I've made several posts to Linda Sarsour's Facebook account on public. I've emailed them, right? I've emailed Students for Justice for Palestine. And it's not just me, it's also Theo Chino. Has a picture with the former leader of the Palestinian state, right? They used to have their own little government, but none of the whole movement here in New York. There's 1.6 million Jews. There's 160,000 Arabs. And remember, the Egyptians were kicking the Palestinian activists out of their state, so they're not all one unit. But it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Recently, there's that I have this anti-communist event coming up at the PSL headquarters. There's some new thing called there's some new Jewish organization that's running a duplicate event at DSA headquarters, right? So just like the music industry, there's a lot of kind of duplication, right? If your label has a saxophone guy that's really doing good, our label is going to try to manufacture our own saxophone guy to so that we don't get beat out, or we could hop on the trend and do what's winning. But both artists are being used and exploited and victimized, usually. So the trick here is that the people that are impacted don't get a voice in this, and it's just a fact. So contact the House Oversight Committee. I'm really starting to touch on bigger things, being a candidate running in New York City for the seat where Mamdani formerly had before he became mayor, and openly saying that I'm about America first, not Israel first. Definitely has a lot of eyes on me, but I'm not getting any protection. The whole, and maybe that's safer in some ways, right? But the whole groups of people that are out there, they're being told by the leadership to disregard me and dismiss me and throw me in the garbage. And my fellow Korean Americans, my fellow Asian Americans don't have my back out here. I'm sorry to say. You can see the evidence for yourselves. What Asian American has my back? I'm the only Asian American that's on that flyer for the communist event that's taking on the CCP. Falun Gong's not going to be there. The Chinese people that were victims of the CCP, they're not going to be there. I've actually, on my Facebook page, you can see that I actively phone banked for Thomas Massie, encouraged others to do so. I'm also a little bit suspicious of Thomas Massie because he also got involved with something called the Free and Equal Debate Series, which was, set up by the people related to Brock Pierce, Accelerate 2020, and Jimmy Dore. And these people are, not only did they inject two-time convicted pedophile Scott Ritter into the anti-war movement, they also brought around Russell Brand. He's not even from the United States, to comment on U.S. politics. They could have a war victim. No. They're going to bring in Russell Brand. And when I'm trying to bring it to people that are in my circle, they keep making these stupid excuses like, oh, he's a celebrity. Oh, people will watch him. I don't trust the people that telling me that. I really don't. There's a lot of people on the ground out here that's undercover that's trying to really make sure that these plans go forward and that the control remains in the hands of, the establishment. They're the ones who promote division. They're the ones who make sure so now these people are starting to get involved with this event after a long time of not being involved with the event. So it's very maybe it's very hard to trust. So I hope this isn't one of my last videos out here. Maybe it sounds kind of like I've been doing this for a long time. So when things change and you don't understand why, there's a certain amount of stress involved with that. So put that. I know this isn't very watchable, right? I'm not someone famous. I'm not really dancing or doing anything really entertaining out here. I'm gonna try to bring some of my crew said that they're coming through, like the wrongfully incarcerated, right? The public housing community has not really. One of them had my back, Carmen Quinones, kind of, but I guess the pressure got to her, right? She's some of the people. There's gang activity going on out here. There's a lot at stake, and people's lives are being threatened. That's true. Nacha was busted for the largest federal bust in DOJ history for corruption. There's a lot of fear out here from the people on the ground. I look at what's happening to Korean Americans and my diaspora on the front of a proxy nuclear war. And, I'm like 50. I don't really, I don't want to get a regular day job, right? Asian Americans are the least likely to be promoted to management, right? I always got to be someone else's low-cost labor. Don't have a family. I really feel like I'm more situated to be in this fight because I have less to lose. I built up a strong amount of people that I work with. There might be some investigation into some of these things that I leave behind if I should suddenly disappear. I mean, my channel will probably, and this video will probably disappear. And by really keeping the control over the media and determining who gets to be watched and who doesn't, there's been a lot of, successes in terms of keeping this story out of the news. And yeah. All right, well, that's today's little spiel right there. And this weekend, this happened this Sunday, at the PSL headquarters. I think 70 organizations, Vocal New York, all these other ones, signed up to support PSL and the People's Forum. Oh, by the way, there's also I'm having a housing summit, and a Storage Tenants Union and WNYC Radio or TV is getting behind them and working with them, right? But they're not going to cover the Republican Summit one or engage or work together. It's the Democrats and the DSA kind of have their own little clique, and they don't want to share. If you think they want to share with the people, they want to share with their people, not with the people. All right? Let this be known that on this video right here, and I've been saying it to other people, it's not a closed event. If you look at what's his name, Danny Mayo, he invites Democrats to speak at his club, Central Queens Republican Club, more than any other Republican club in the city. I have New York City's only third-party independent candidate debates, and I have something called Unified Platform USA.com, where I get to give the people across party lines to agree on things. As in someone with the most credibility to really say that this is what I do. I have this is why they can't talk about me, because if I say WNYC, a store tenants union. Have you ever done anything with anybody Republican or maybe even third party independent? And they don't like having that conversation. Just another day, folks. Hey, if I died today, at least I could look back at my life and I didn't do perfect out here. I did far from perfect, but at the end, I tried to really do the right thing. So, what more can you ask for, I guess, right? Money. You die, and then where does it go, right? I don't really have anybody to pass the money on to. So I think a lot of people are going to be like me, yeah? A lot of these youth that don't have kids, they're going to look for a meaning in their life. And he who dies with the most toys wins. So those toys can be swept into the garbage. So they can be swept up by these, these courts, that redistribute the money to not-for-profits and get stolen surrogate court. That's what the Stop Deep Theft thing is about. I'm proud of my work yesterday, bringing Kamari Preston, getting it on the record about what's happening to her. She's also been going on for a long time. Even Gail Brewer admitted that. She's like, it's been 100 years. It wasn't 100 years, but it's been a long time since this has been going down. A lot of people expect that they're going to get justice sometime soon. I'm under no such illusions. All the people I work with have been victims for decades and are still ignored by these DSA types and the People's Forum types. I know they're not going to get help, and I know I'm not going to get help from these people. All they've done is really run interference and try to organize alternate events to prevent, there from being a real conversation about, what the issues are. There, it's really sad. But at least I'm documenting all of this. I'm gonna try to back it up, but I have a severe suspicion that once I go, all this content disappears.